Lundgren here again with a brief walkthrough, a couple of other features of the spreadsheet that we've created for your use, and a brief walk back through some elements of the introductory text to Volume 1, so you can see some particular parts of the introduction which were designed to steer you in the direction of how to use this spreadsheet to manage the content of your collections and so forth. At this point, I just want to point out that what we'll be looking at is these columns in the spreadsheet. That is the manufacturing periods, where each of the badges were made in different types of materials, and we'll talk about the dates and time groups that are involved there. And then over on the right hand side of the spreadsheet we've got this 5-point Likert scale which describes the supply and availability assessment for each item. Let's go back to the book now, have a quick look at those, and then come back here, and hopefully the whole exercise will make some sense for you as you ultimately download this spreadsheet and start using it. Okay, so here we are back at the cover of the ebook, or the hard copy version, which will soon be available. And if you just scroll down past the cover, past the dedication, and into the table of contents for Volume 1, and we dial up page 11, get to the end of the table of contents of Volume 2, we'll come to these notes here at the bottom of page 11 where we've indicated that the periods in which insignia in the post-1953 period have been made have been bracketed as 1953 to 1964, which are generally, as you can see there, gilt brass or white metal items, and occasionally silver plate items. From 1964 to 1997, the Army used predominantly anodised aluminium items, which are known as stay-brights. There are, of course, some corps where chrome items were used instead of anodised ones, and most of you would be aware that that's armour, and to some extent, although not completely, aviation is another example where predominantly chrome badges rather than anodised ones were used, although obviously anodised aviation badges were issued. The third period is the post-97 period, which you will all have figured out by now are flat-backed and a very dark sort of 23 carat gold electroplated items. That is gold electroplating, which appears to be at about 23 carats in terms of its typical colour. Now those items are called bright shine badges, so you've got 3 periods of manufacture, predominantly gilt brass and white metal items, then super pure aluminium items called stay-brights, and then the more recent, largely uncounterstruck gold electroplated bright shine items. The next issue that we need to look at is the 5-point Likert scale, and that's on page 17. So let's just dial that up now. At the bottom of page 17, you can see a paragraph where we have discussed the reason for providing some guidance as to the supply or market availability of items without resorting to turning the reference works into catalogues by actually having prices tracked in some way. Now, there's various reasons why that's not a good idea, and one of them we have articulated in the document indicates that if, as authors of these works, if we provide market price information, then that changes the fundamental nature of the works that we've produced, and if you publish price information in hard copy form within a case-bound book especially, it'll be out on the market for a very lengthy period of time, circulating amongst people, and the amounts of purchase costs specified in those documents is capable of being quite misleading if people read price information many years after publication without making allowance for that, either in terms of inflation over time or market cycles, which of course affect collecting militaria just as they do everything else. Having described why it is that we've stayed away from providing price-specific information, what we have done for collectors and dealers, but specifically for collectors, is to provide people who use these works with some guidance as to how commonly they will find specific items in circulation, at least in our opinion, and it's just an opinion. We could, of course, provide detailed statistics on what's been available at what price, but we've already discussed why we don't want to do that. So, having said that, when we look at the spreadsheet in a minute, you'll find that it has a scarcity guide using a 5-point Likert scale. These are the 5 points here. Those items that are listed as 1 star are commonly available at any given time. Those with 2 stars can usually be found in any 3-month period. Those with 3 stars can usually be found in any given year. As we get to items which are listed as 4 stars, those can only be occasionally found, and we've nominated a 2 to 5 year period is probably likely between seeing examples of a particular item available for sale. Whether the price is competitive when you see it is another issue, but your opportunity to buy specific items that fall in the 4-star category is, generally speaking, for most people, going to be a 2 to 5 year wait between opportunities to purchase. That's our estimate. And by the time you get to 5-star items, we're saying that it's likely that it will be 5-year periods between opportunities to purchase those items, or longer, perhaps much longer, but that we're saying that on average we don't expect that you will see that particular item more than once in any 5 years, and quite possibly less frequently than that. So, now that we have been through the 2 elements of the introduction to our work, which relate to the spreadsheet that you're going to be interested in downloading and using, we hope, let's go back to the spreadsheet and see how those feature there.